Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for coming. I am so excited to be one of the women selected for Women's History Month and to share my story. So a little bit about me is that I am the staff writer here at Triton College. And I do all different types of things being the staff writer. I write press releases. I do a podcast with Dimitri called Conversations at Triton. I do newsletters. I cover events. I do social media, and I do public relations. So here's a picture of me, and last year I interviewed Patrick Sumnick. He's a basketball player here at Triton. And as you could tell, he's much taller than me. So last year I interviewed him. So that was our first ever podcast. So that was a really fun experience. So before I came to Triton, I went to Dominican University in River Forest, right down the road. I majored in journalism and I minored in English. And when I was there, I wrote for the school newspaper and I was one of the editors. So how did I become interested in writing? Well, one of the reasons why I became so interested in writing was because I loved to read. Growing up, all I wanted to do was read books. And growing up, I really, really loved the Roald Dahl books. They were my favorite. I read all of them. I'm sure a lot of you grew up also loving Roald Dahl. And my favorite book growing up was Matilda. It was the first book I actually read by myself without my mom having to read aloud to me. And I was in second grade when I actually sat down and read the whole book by myself. And that's when I realized I really wanted to be a writer and I loved literature. And growing up, I'm a 90s kid, I loved the Babysitter's Club books. So I would read those all the time, and I just kind of fell in love with writing. I'm sure, does anyone else in the audience read Babysitter's Club books growing up? Yeah. Tom? No. Also growing up, my mom would always I would come up with stories when I was 3 or 4 years old, and my mom would write the words and I would draw the pictures. So I was writing stories even when I was really, really little. So before I came to Triton, I was a journalist for Pioneer Press for about 10 years. And I wrote a column called Shout Out where I would profile different people within the area. I'd profile politicians or different people doing interesting things. I had a fashion column where I would talk about the different trends for that season. I would cover different events in the area, and I would cover mostly fundraisers and events. So here's a picture of me with Cardinal Supich, and this was a huge highlight for me that I got to interview him. He was at St. William's Parish for their 100th year anniversary. So that was really cool that I got to interview him and talk to him, and it was a huge highlight for me. I'm also the founder of M Magazine. I started it myself when I graduated from college because I didn't think that I would find a job in journalism, as so many journalism majors know. So I started this online magazine, and I would write about celebrity interviews, fashion, beauty, psychology, health, and of course, my favorite topic, love and dating. And so this is a picture of me. This was a huge highlight for me. I got to interview New York Times bestselling author Adriana Trigiani. She's my favorite author. She is also an Italian-American author. I look up to her so much. I don't know if anyone in the audience also enjoys her books. Yeah, she's amazing. So that was a huge honor for me to get to talk with her, network with her. And I think I would kind of call her a friend now because I've interviewed her a few times. Here are some other really cool interviews I got to do. I got to interview Ryan Cheverini. He's the host of Windy City Live. It's not on the air anymore. And with his co-hosts Val Warner and Ji Suki. I used to love Windy City Live. I used to watch it every morning. Now Ryan and Val are on ABC7, so I still try to keep in touch with Ryan whenever I can. And then this is a picture of me with Jeff Morrow. He's a chef on the Food Network, and he's actually a guy from the neighborhood. I think he lives in River Forest or Elmwood Park. So that was pretty cool. I got to interview them as well. So I'm also an author, and I'm an author of 2 books. I'm the author of The Decision and Katerina's Journey. I wrote the decision when I was a sophomore at East Leiden High School, and I wrote about my favorite topic at the time, which was boy bands. I wrote about a girl who falls in love with a guy in a boy band, and she has to choose between the two guys. She has to choose between the guy in the boy band or the guy that she has a crush on. So it was something that I really, really liked to write about when I was a teenager. And then I also wrote my children's book, which is Katerina's Journey, which I will be talking about today. I chose to talk about Katerina's Journey today because I really feel like it highlights strong women, and it inspired me to be a storyteller, and it really, really, truly shapes who I am today. So who has read Katerina's Journey? Okay, and who can tell me what it's about? Yes, my mom.
Story about my mom and their struggles coming to America when she was 12 years old.
Yes, so the book is mainly about immigration, and it's about my background. I'm Italian American, so it's about my grandmother's immigration story from Italy. So who here is an immigrant? Okay, Dorothy, where are you from? Poland. Okay, where are you from?
Mexico.
Okay, and
Italy.
Okay. So I think it's so amazing that there's so many different people here from so many different countries. So my family's immigration story is about Reggio di Calabria, which is where they came from. So the premise of Katerina's Journey, as I already explained, it's a story about my grandmother, Katerina, and her immigration story. So this is the real picture of my family. This was their passport photo. And Katerina is in the front, that's my grandmother, and then her two brothers were Giuseppe and Domenico, and then my great-grandmother was Mama Filomena. And I truly think, unlike the book, so in the book, Katerina comes to America with her whole family, with her father Antonio, with her Mama Filomena, with her brothers. But in the real story, Katerina came just by herself with her great-grandmother, with my great-grandmother, her mother, Mama Filomena. And I just think for Women's History Month, this is truly the epitome of a strong woman. I mean, this woman came by herself with 3 kids, leaving her country, not knowing the language, having to learn a whole new culture. I mean, I just think that this woman is the most incredibly strong woman that I have ever heard of. So a little bit of reasons why they came to America was because they wanted a better life, first and foremost, as all of you who are immigrants probably had the same experience. They wanted a better life, they wanted jobs, and they wanted better opportunity, because the opportunities that they had in Italy weren't as good as the opportunities that they had here in America. And some struggles they had in America were that they didn't speak English, the boys had to work, there was prejudice against them, and they wanted to acclimate to American culture, meaning they wanted to become Americans, but at the same time hold on to the culture that was so important to them, their Italian culture. So this is a map of Italy, and my family is from the toe of the boot, that is Calabria. And so where Simone and the other Katerina are from, or they're from Bari, which is the heel of the boot. Anybody else of Italian descent want to point out where they're from?
My maternal parents are from Genoa, a small town of Genoa in the mountains, and then my grandparents are from Sicily.
Okay, yeah, my dad's family's from Sicily.
Because that was before, I don't want to get into detail, but there was no one would help them. The only people that would help the immigrants back then was the Catholic Church. They would help the Italians.
So interesting. Maybe we could talk about that I'd love to hear about it another time. So here's a map of Calabria. So my family's from Reggio di Calabria, which is right by the sea, and I remember my family members would say that they could see Sicily from their backyard. So they were very, very close to the sea. So here are some photos of Calabria, and who has traveled to Calabria? I know my Uncle Frank and Aunt Diane have been there. How many times have you been there?
Well, to Calabria, we've just been there once.
Okay. This is somewhere I'd really love to go one day. I'd love to go back to my grandmother's town, and I'd love to, visit. And whenever I give this presentation to school children, they always say that they like to make the connection that it looks like the movie Luca from the Disney movie Luca. They always say that. And this is somewhere I definitely would love to visit, as I said, because it looks like so beautiful, so peaceful, looks almost like a dream. So here's a picture of the family when they were all together in America. Unlike a lot of immigrant families who probably didn't find each other if they separated, Katerina and her family did come together. This is Katerina, my grandmother, in the middle, and then Mama Filomena, Papa Antonio, Giuseppe, and Domenico. So here are some other pictures of my family, and this is Katerina when she was a young woman with my grandpa Giuseppe and another Giuseppe, and then Katerina's brother Giuseppe with his wife Dominica, but her whole life she went by Margaret, and we don't really know why. Why did she go by Margaret? So this is them as a young couple. So here are some other pictures of my grandma and grandpa Katerina when she was a young mother. And I love these pictures because I love looking at the clothes. I love the old car. I just love this time period. If I could live through any time period, it would be this one. And I love looking at these pictures because I feel like it truly has shaped who I am today. It really makes up who I am. So here's a picture of Katerina with her 3 children. When Katerina did get married, she had 4 children, Frank, Tony, Roseanne, and my mom, Kathy. So this is a picture of them when they were little, but Kathy's not in this picture because she came much later. And then here's a picture of all of them as adults all together. So one part about Katerina's journey that people love is Giuseppe's banana story. So if you're not familiar with it, in Katerina's journey, Giuseppe comes here. He had never seen a banana before, and he eats the banana with the peel, and he gets so sick he never ate a banana for the rest of his life. So this happens in the children's book, and this actually happened in real life. This was my Uncle Joe as an old man. As you know, he married Dominica, who went by Margaret. And he hated bananas. He never ate them because he got so sick on the boat ride coming here that he just couldn't eat one for the rest of his life. And an interesting fact about Katerina's journey is that I heard this story from my Uncle Joe. My grandmother passed away when I was in kindergarten. My Uncle Joe passed away when I was in high school. And my Uncle Joe was very good at telling stories. He loved to sit around the kitchen table and, you'd have your coffee and your biscotti, and he would tell these long, elaborate stories with a lot of detail. So I heard this story from him. He was a very good storyteller, and he actually had a lot of great stories that I would still like to share today, that I still remember. So here's a quote that I found online, and I always found it really interesting. It says, I came to America because I heard the streets were paved with gold. When I got here, I found out 3 things. They weren't paved with gold. Second, they weren't paved at all. And third, I was expected to pave them. So this is actually a quote from Katerina's journey because Papa Antonio does say, in America, the streets are paved with gold. So even though they knew that there would be opportunity in America, even though they knew it would be a wonderful place to have their families and have jobs and opportunity, it would still obviously be very, very difficult. So how has Katerina's journey shaped my story? Well, first of all, I think for Women's History Month, it totally shows strong women. I mean, my great-grandmother, Filomena, as I said, she came here by herself with 3 children, not knowing the language, on a boat that probably wasn't the best living conditions. And I just think this is totally the epitome of strong women, especially my grandmother. When she came here, she was put in a first-grade classroom when she was 12 years old because she didn't speak English. So it truly shows strong women. It shows resilience. It shows it definitely made me interested in storytelling because I knew I wanted to tell this story to the next generation. And it has shaped who I am today. And as many of you know, I'm a very proud Italian American. So this story pretty much sums up my entire personality. And so Katerina's legacy has lived on. So this is her family today. And this was a few years ago at my brother's wedding. This is our family. So her legacy has definitely lived on with her kids and grandkids and now great-grandkids. So I want to thank everyone so much for coming here today. I want to thank all of the strong women in this room, especially Shakina, my Aunt Diane, my mom, Katerina, Colleen, my friends Dorothy, Renee, Ramanda, Samantha, all my friends in the marketing department, Gianna, all of the wonderful women I work at Triton with, and just thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for that beautiful story. I think that every woman this week that has spoken has brought something rich and has told a story about how their lives have been shaped by women who've inspired them or their family who have inspired them. So I'm really very happy that you said yes and that you shared your story. And I want to take this time to open it up for questions. So in the last couple of sessions, this has been a series. We have one more coming tomorrow. I did open up the floor to questions for our speaker. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please do so at this time.
Cassandra.
Great story.
Oh, thank you.
I'm gonna have to make a point of getting the book. Even
Okay.
though I'm not like a topic, but I'm gonna really be interested in reading that. So my question would be, the way you have beautifully portrayed your background, your history, your heritage. Have you managed to speak the language and or learn it or anything? Is that part of your
It's a good question.
immersion right now?
I have not. That's a goal of mine. I'd really like to do that. So that's a goal for the future.
Do you cook Italian?
I do. I'm more into baking than cooking. So, but yeah, I love to cook and bake and host parties. Yeah.
Any other questions?
Good question.
I
Yeah,
just
Gabe.
want to say, if this was the Emmys, you would definitely get the
Oh my gosh,
Oscar.
thank you. Thank
I
you.
agree. I agree.
Maryann, now
Yeah.
that you told us about your past, tell us about how you parlay that into your future.
Very good.
Like my goals for writing or just in general? Well, I would really like to write a story about my dad's family. So my dad's family, it was a family rumor that we were related to Leonardo da Vinci. I guess like his great-grandmother said, come on, I don't want to cry. But I guess like my great-grandmother, it was like a rumor, no crying, that we were related to Leonardo da Vinci. Like a few, like, I don't know. I don't even know how I would find that out or research it.
And we'll come next.
Yeah. No, so I think maybe I'd want to write a story about my dad's family.
Of course.
Yeah.
So Maryann, I think your story, your journey, it's beautiful because growing up in Elmwood Park and growing up, I think in Triton's district, there are so many, not even women, families who can relate to this story and to this journey. And what you've done and how you present this information, it's just beautiful. And so
Thank
you've done
you.
Such a great job. And I'll just share a quick tidbit. So my brother, our family from Elmwood Park, our family's from Calabria, and my brother Joe, we did our lineage, we researched, and we found out that our family is from a town called, I just texted him, Cosenza, is that a town?
Cosenza.
Yeah,
Cosenza,
there,
yeah.
and specifically a town, Flavetto, I don't know if there's a town there, but anyway, long story short, my brother Joe got dual citizenship, and then played
cool.
baseball in Italy, and traveled all around Europe, everywhere, so it's just amazing when you hear your story, your journey. There's so many people in our community. So the more we can share this and the more that we can keep celebrating, the Italian American heritage, it's wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. This is going back a little bit when you wrote the decision.
Mhm.
Okay. What was it like being interviewed on WGN radio as the person of the week? They interviewed teenagers about what they did. What was it like for you at that early age?
I think at the time I was just kind of overwhelmed and it was like more surreal. Like I can't believe this is happening and I can't believe like I'm so young and I'm being interviewed by these important people. I think it was just more of like a surreal moment. But then I kept thinking like there's so much more I want to do. Like there's so much more work cut out for me. Yeah. Yes.
What is it that you love about being at Triton, or do you love being at Triton?
Yeah. I really love being at Triton, and I'm not just saying that. Like I really, truly, I tell Tom Olson every day, like I'm so grateful for this job. Like when I say my prayers, I pray like I'm grateful for this job. What I love so much about this job is the people I work with. I love the marketing department. It's such a blessing to work with such incredible people in the marketing department and beyond the marketing department as well. I love the people here. Any other questions?
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.